Let me start by telling you this: God doesn't do random. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of silence you're experiencing has purpose. You see, when God is about to shift your life into a new level, He first prepares you. But preparation, it doesn't always look glamorous. In fact, it's often the exact opposite. Let me walk you through some signs that God is preparing you for a major breakthrough. When you feel like you're being tested, it can be one of the most challenging and uncomfortable times in your life. It's a season where every step you take seems harder than the last, where every corner you turn feels like it leads to another obstacle. Yet this is often the time when God is doing His most significant work in your life. Being tested doesn't mean you've been abandoned. It means you're being refined, strengthened, and prepared for something greater than you can imagine. Think of the way gold is purified. It has to endure intense heat, melting away impurities until what's left is pure and valuable. That's what happens in the seasons of testing. You might be wondering why it feels like everything is going wrong, why the struggles seem relentless. The truth is, testing is not punishment, it's preparation. When you pray for growth, breakthrough, or blessings, God doesn't just hand them to you without ensuring you're ready. He tests you to see if your faith can stand under pressure, if your character can sustain the blessings, and if your trust in Him is stronger than your desire for immediate comfort. He's not trying to hurt you, He's trying to mold you into someone who can carry the weight of what's to come. In these moments, it often feels like the world is against you. The relationships you counted on may falter. The opportunities you were excited about may fall through. Even your own confidence can take a hit. But it's important to understand that testing isn't about destroying you, it's about building you up in a way you might not yet understand. God tests what He values. If you're being tested, it's because He sees potential in you that you might not see in yourself. He's invested in you, and like any good teacher, He's preparing you for the next level. The tests you face often come in the form of challenges that seem unfair. Maybe it's a sudden loss, a financial struggle, or a relationship that unexpectedly breaks down. It might be a time when you feel overwhelmed by your circumstances, unable to find a clear way forward. These moments can make you question everything: your purpose, your decisions, even your faith. But questioning doesn't mean you failed. In fact, it's often in the questions that you discover deeper truths about yourself and your relationship with God. During testing, your patience will often be stretched to its limit. You'll find yourself in situations where you must wait longer than you thought you could, where answers don't come as quickly as you want. This waiting period can be incredibly uncomfortable, but it's part of the process. Patience isn't just about enduring time, it's about trusting that God's timing is better than your own. When you're being tested, you learn to lean not on your own understanding, but on the faith that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. Another aspect of testing is learning to let go. Sometimes the things you're holding on to tightly, your plans, your expectations, even certain relationships, are the very things that are holding you back. God will test your willingness to release what is no longer serving you, to make space for something better. This isn't easy. Letting go often feels like losing, but in reality, it's making room for growth. You can't receive the new blessings God has for you if your hands are full of things He's asking you to release. One of the hardest parts of being tested is the emotional toll it can take. You might feel isolated, misunderstood, or even forgotten. There are times when it feels like your prayers are hitting the ceiling, like God is silent when you need Him most. This silence is not a sign of His absence, but a sign of His trust in you. Just as a teacher remains quiet during a test, trusting that the student is prepared, God's silence in your testing is His way of saying, I've equipped you for this. Now show me what you've learned. Testing also reveals your true priorities. When everything is going well, it's easy to lose focus on what really matters. But when life becomes challenging, you're forced to examine where your trust lies. Are you relying on your own strength, or are you leaning into God's? Testing strips away the distractions and brings you back to the core of your faith. It's in these moments that you realize what's truly important, what's worth holding on to, and what needs to be left behind. Through these tests, you also gain resilience. The struggles you face today are not meant to defeat you, but to equip you for what's ahead. Every challenge you overcome, every obstacle you push through makes you stronger and more prepared for the blessings to come. Resilience isn't built in comfort, it's forged in the fire of difficulty. When you look back on your life, you'll realize that the times you were tested were the times you grew the most. It's in the struggle that you find your strength. Testing also teaches you gratitude. When life is hard, you learn to appreciate even the smallest blessings. The simple things, a kind word, a moment of peace, a glimmer of hope become significant. Gratitude shifts your perspective and reminds you that even in the midst of trials, there is good to be found. It's this gratitude that keeps your heart open and your spirit strong, even when the road ahead is uncertain. The process of being tested also builds trust in God. When you face challenges that are bigger than you, you're reminded that you don't have to face them alone. God walks with you through every trial, offering strength and guidance, even when you can't see it. The more you rely on Him in your testing, the more you understand His faithfulness. You begin to see that His plans for you are not to harm you, but to give you hope and a future. In the midst of testing, you may feel like giving up. The weight of it all can seem unbearable at times. But remember this, God's tests are never designed to break you. They're designed to stretch you, to grow you, and to prepare you for what's next. The very fact that you're being tested is proof that you're being trusted with something greater. It's a sign that God is doing something significant in your life, even if you can't see it yet. When your plans are falling apart, it can feel like your world is crumbling around you. You've worked hard, made careful decisions, and mapped out your path, only to watch everything unravel in ways you didn't expect. It's confusing, frustrating, and sometimes even devastating. But in these moments, it's important to remember that what looks like chaos to you is often divine order in disguise. When your plans fall apart, it's not because you failed, it's because God has something better, something you couldn't see coming, something far beyond what you thought was possible. God's ways are higher than ours. We often create plans based on what we know, what we can see, and what feels safe. But God sees the full picture. He knows what's ahead and what you truly need to step into your purpose. Sometimes the plans you make are too small for the vision He has for your life. He allows them to fall apart, not to harm you, but to guide you towards something greater. It's hard to trust in the moment, but every closed door and every failed plan is part of a bigger story. When plans fall apart, it's natural to feel disoriented. You might wonder if you made a mistake or if you misheard God's direction. You might question your abilities or feel like giving up. But these moments are not about punishing you or pointing out your flaws. They are opportunities for growth, for learning to rely not on your own understanding, but on God's wisdom. Plans falling apart teach you humility, the kind of humility that allows you to let go of control and surrender to the divine will. It's in this surrender that you find peace. One of the hardest things to accept is that the plans we hold on to so tightly are often the very things holding us back. We get attached to our vision, to our timeline, and to our expectations. We convince ourselves that if we can just make things go the way we planned, everything will work out. But sometimes the things we cling to are not meant for us. They may seem good on the surface, but they're not aligned with God's purpose for our lives. When He allows them to fall apart, it's not to take something from us, but to make room for something better. When your plans are falling apart, it's easy to feel like you've lost control. And in many ways you have. But this loss of control isn't a bad thing, it's an invitation to trust. When you let go of your plans, you make space for God's plans to take over. His plans are always bigger, better, and more fulfilling than anything we could come up with on our own. It might not feel like it in the moment, but letting go of your plans is the first step towards stepping into His purpose. The process of plans falling apart often feels like failure. But failure is not the end. It's a stepping stone, a way of redirecting you toward what's truly meant for you. Failure teaches you resilience, adaptability, and faith. It strips away the illusion that you can do everything on your own and reminds you of your need for divine guidance. When your plans fail, it's not a sign that you're incapable, it's a sign that you're being prepared for something greater. Another thing that happens when plans fall apart is that you're forced to pause and reflect. In our busy lives, it's easy to get caught up in the rush of accomplishing goals and checking off tasks. But when things don't go as planned, you're given the opportunity to slow down and seek clarity. This pause allows you to reconnect with God, to listen for His voice, and to realign yourself with His purpose. It's in these moments of stillness that you often find the direction you've been seeking. When your plans fall apart, it's also a chance to let go of fear. Many of the plans we make are rooted in fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. We create plans to protect ourselves, to stay in our comfort zones, and to avoid taking risks. But God's plans for us often require us to step out in faith, to leave behind what's familiar, and to embrace the unknown. When your plans fall apart, it's an opportunity to face those fears and to trust that God's plans will lead you to something far greater than you could have imagined. Plans falling apart can also reveal hidden blessings. Sometimes the things we think we want are not what we truly need. We may not see it in the moment, but God knows what's best for us. He allows certain things to fall apart to protect us from what we cannot see. That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, that opportunity that didn't work out, these are all part of a larger plan that's designed for your ultimate good. When you look back, you'll often realize that what you thought was a setback was actually a setup for something greater. In the midst of plans falling apart, you also discover your true strength. It's easy to feel strong when everything is going well, but true strength is revealed in adversity. When your plans fail, you're forced to dig deep, to find resilience you didn't know you had, and to rely on God in ways you never had before. This process strengthens your character, builds your faith, and prepares you for the challenges and blessings that lie ahead. Plans falling apart also teach you to live in the present moment. When you're so focused on the future and on making your plans work, it's easy to lose sight of the here and now. But when things don't go as planned, you're reminded to appreciate the present, to find joy in the journey, and to trust that each moment is part of a larger picture. It's in the present that you often find the clarity and peace you've been seeking. When plans fall apart, they often lead to unexpected opportunities. The detours and disruptions that seem so frustrating in the moment can open doors you never knew existed. They can lead you to people, places, and experiences that are far better than anything you had planned. These moments remind you that God's plans are always greater than your own, and that even when you can't see the way forward, He is guiding you towards something extraordinary. There are times in life when you feel alone, even when you're surrounded by people. It's a loneliness that runs deeper than just physical isolation. It's an emotional and spiritual solitude that makes you question everything. It's in these moments that you might feel as though God has abandoned you, or that your prayers are falling on deaf ears. You might ask, why do I feel so alone? But what if I told you that this loneliness is not a punishment, but a preparation? What if this season of solitude is exactly what God is using to strengthen your faith and align you with His purpose for your life? In the quiet of your solitude, God does some of His most powerful work. When you're alone, you're forced to face yourself in a way you never do when you're constantly surrounded by distractions and noise. In this solitude, you begin to reflect on who you are, what you truly desire, and what God has called you to do. God uses these moments of loneliness to refine your heart, to strip away what isn't necessary, and to prepare you for the next season of your life. It's in the quiet that He often speaks the loudest, but you have to be willing to listen. Loneliness can feel like a void, a space where you're unsure of where you stand, but it's also a space where God can mold you into something new. When everyone else has left, when the crowd has disappeared, God is still there, speaking to you, guiding you, and teaching you. It's in these moments that you can hear His voice more clearly, free from the distractions of the world. God is never distant in your loneliness. He is close, refining you, preparing you, and getting you ready for what's next. Sometimes loneliness comes because you're not where you thought you'd be at this point in your life. You've watched others around you find success, happiness, and companionship while you feel stuck in a place of isolation. The enemy will try to use this as an opportunity to make you feel like something is wrong with you, to make you question your worth, and to plant seeds of doubt about your purpose. But this is when you need to remember that God's plan for you is not the same as everyone else's. Just because you're not walking the same path doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. In fact, God may be isolating you for a reason, to help you focus, to teach you new things, and to prepare you for something bigger than you can see right now. When you feel alone, it's also easy to slip into feelings of inadequacy, to believe that you're not enough or that something is wrong with you. But God doesn't make mistakes. His timing is perfect, and his purpose for your life is intentional. Loneliness doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means you're being prepared. You are being refined in ways that others might not understand, but that's okay. God is shaping you into who you need to be for the next chapter of your life. He's strengthening your faith, building your resilience, and teaching you the value of his presence above all else. In these times of loneliness, God is often asking you to lean on him more fully. It's easy to rely on others when you're surrounded by people who support you, but it's in the silence of solitude that God calls you to trust him completely. It's in these moments that you learn to surrender your need for validation from others and find your worth in his love. You don't need anyone else's approval to be who God has called you to be. He has created you with purpose, and that purpose doesn't depend on the approval of others. When you're alone, you learn to hear his voice more clearly, to follow his lead without the interference of external opinions. There's also something deeply transformative about being alone with God. It's in these quiet moments that you can pour out your heart, express your deepest fears, desires, and frustrations, and receive his healing and peace. Loneliness is not about being without company. It's about realizing that you are never truly alone. God is with you, even when you can't feel his presence. His love is constant, and in those moments of solitude, he is drawing you closer to him. The intimacy that comes from spending time alone with God is unlike any other relationship. It's in these moments that you are truly known and fully loved. Sometimes God uses loneliness to reveal areas of your life that need healing. It's easy to mask your pain and distractions when you're surrounded by people, but when you're alone, your emotions surface. This can be a painful process, but it's also one of the most freeing. God doesn't want you to carry the weight of unhealed wounds, and he will use this time of loneliness to bring those issues to the surface so he can heal them. It's in the moments of solitude that you begin to confront the things that have been holding you back, whether they're past hurts, unresolved emotions, or areas of your life that you've kept hidden from others and from yourself. In God's presence, you can find healing and restoration that will allow you to move forward with strength and confidence. Loneliness can also be an opportunity for growth. In solitude, you can explore the depths of your own heart and soul. You can spend time developing new skills, refining your character, and growing in your relationship with God. When you're constantly surrounded by others, it can be easy to lose sight of your own development. But in the quiet of loneliness, you have the space to focus on yourself and grow in ways that can't be done in the busyness of life. God can use this time to equip you for what's ahead, whether that means developing new talents, gaining wisdom, or deepening your understanding of your calling. Being alone also gives you the opportunity to rediscover who you are in God. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to lose yourself in the roles you play for others, whether as a friend, spouse, parent, or employee. But in loneliness, you are reminded of your true identity as a child of God. Your value doesn't come from what you do or how others see you. It comes from who you are in Christ. This season of solitude helps you reconnect with your true self, not the version that others expect, but the one God created you to be. Loneliness serves as a reminder that you are never truly alone. Even when you feel the emptiness, even when you feel like no one understands, God is with you. His presence fills the spaces where human companionship can't reach. He is your constant companion, your comforter, and your guide. Loneliness teaches you to rely not on the fleeting presence of others, but on the eternal presence of God. It's in these moments of solitude that you learn that his love is all-encompassing and unshakable. There are moments in life when you feel completely and utterly exhausted. as though you've given all you can, but still the situation doesn't seem to improve. You're tired in a way that goes beyond the physical, it's emotional, mental, and spiritual exhaustion. In these times, it's easy to feel as if you've hit a wall, unable to move forward or find the strength to continue. Yet, it's in these very moments of weariness that God is often preparing you for the most significant breakthroughs of your life. When you're tired and overwhelmed, it's a sign that you're on the brink of something powerful, that you're being tested and refined for what's to come. Exhaustion isn't always a bad thing, although it may feel like it in the moment. It's often a sign that you've been pushing yourself, investing your energy, your time, and your resources into something important. The fact that you're tired means you're doing something. It means you're not sitting idly by waiting for things to happen. You're active, working towards a goal, putting in the effort. But in the midst of this effort, you can forget one crucial fact. You don't have to rely solely on your own strength to get through it. God is with you in your exhaustion, and He's teaching you to rely on His strength rather than your own. When you reach the point of complete exhaustion, you're forced to confront your limits. You begin to realize that you can't do everything on your own, and that's okay. This is one of the greatest lessons you can learn, knowing that God is not calling you to do everything by yourself. It's in the times of extreme weariness that you learn to lean on Him, to surrender your need for control, and to open your heart to His rest. When you're tired, God invites you to come to Him to find rest in His presence. His strength is made perfect in your weakness, and when you've exhausted your own resources, He is there to provide what you lack. Exhaustion can also be a sign that you're approaching a breakthrough because it forces you to confront the things that are draining you. Often we keep pushing through situations, relationships, and habits that are taking more from us than we realize. But when you reach a point of exhaustion, you become acutely aware of the things that are holding you back. This awareness is the first step toward making necessary changes, whether it's letting go of toxic influences, changing unhealthy patterns, or refocusing your priorities. God allows you to reach this point of fatigue to open your eyes to what needs to shift in order for you to move forward in your purpose. In the middle of exhaustion, it's easy to feel defeated. It's easy to think that you failed, that you're not good enough, or that things aren't going the way they should. But the truth is that exhaustion often comes right before the breakthrough. It's like a pressure cooker. The heat and pressure build up, but when the release comes, it's often sudden and dramatic. You might feel like you've reached the end of your rope, but God knows exactly where you are. He is faithful, and He knows when to step in and give you the strength you need to keep going. Sometimes the exhaustion you feel is the catalyst for divine intervention, the moment when God swoops in to give you the boost you need to keep moving. Exhaustion can also bring you to a place of humility. When you're tired, you're reminded of your own limitations. This doesn't mean you're weak or inadequate, it simply means that you're human. Exhaustion teaches you that it's okay to rest, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to acknowledge that you can't do everything on your own. In a world that often values constant productivity and achievement, exhaustion can be a humbling reminder that you are not meant to carry the weight of the world by yourself. God never intended for you to do everything alone. He is there to give you the strength, the grace, and the peace that you need to carry on. The weariness you feel is not a sign that you've been abandoned, though it may feel like it in the moment. In fact, God is often closest to you in these times. When you're tired, He's there to provide rest, comfort, and renewal. In the book of Matthew, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." These words are an invitation. God isn't waiting for you to fix yourself before He steps in. He is inviting you into His presence to find peace, to find rest, and to find renewal for your tired soul. At times, exhaustion can lead to frustration. You've worked so hard, you've poured everything into your efforts, and yet you're still waiting for the results. It can be difficult to understand why things aren't moving faster or why the progress seems slow. But the delay is often part of the process. God is preparing you for what lies ahead, and this time of waiting is necessary for your growth. It's in the waiting that you develop patience, endurance, and trust in God's timing. He knows exactly when the right moment will come, and while it might not be on your timeline, it will be on His. The exhaustion you feel today is the precursor to the strength you'll gain tomorrow. Exhaustion can also be a reminder of the importance of self-care and boundaries. When you're constantly giving of yourself, you can easily burn out if you don't take time to replenish and restore your energy. God wants you to be a good steward of your health and well-being. Part of relying on God's strength is recognizing when you need to rest, when you need to step back, and when you need to recharge. Your body, mind, and spirit all need rest in order to function at their best. In the moments of exhaustion, God is teaching you that rest is not a weakness, but a necessary part of His plan for your life. He doesn't want you to work yourself to the point of burnout. He wants you to live in balance, to find peace, and to trust that He is your source of strength. Through exhaustion, you can also experience spiritual growth. When you feel tired, you are more likely to turn to God for the strength you need. It's in these moments of weakness that you can develop a deeper dependence on Him, a greater trust in His ability to provide, and a stronger connection to His presence. Exhaustion is often the moment when your faith is tested and strengthened. When you're tired and running on empty, you realize just how much you need God's help. This dependence on Him can deepen your relationship with Him and increase your capacity to endure whatever challenges lie ahead. Exhaustion is a moment of clarity. It forces you to stop and reevaluate what matters most. In the busyness of life, it's easy to lose sight of your priorities. But when you're tired, you begin to see things for what they truly are. Exhaustion has a way of stripping away distractions, forcing you to focus on the essentials. It's in these moments that God reveals to you what you need to focus on, what's truly important, and what can be let go. It's a time of realignment, a time to reset your goals, your purpose, and your vision for the future. There are times when life feels like a constant battle and you're forced to fight on every front, whether it's fighting for your dreams, fighting for your family, fighting for your peace of mind, or even fighting to just make it through the day. The challenges seem unrelenting and you may begin to question if it's all worth it. But in the midst of the fight, God is at work. He is positioning you, molding you, and preparing you for victory. The struggles you face are not just obstacles, they are training grounds. And the battles you fight today are preparing you for the breakthroughs and victories of tomorrow. God never promised that life would be easy, but He did promise that He would be with you through every battle. The scriptures tell us that God is your strength and your shield. He is the one who equips you for battle and empowers you to overcome the challenges that stand in your way. When you're in the midst of a struggle, it's easy to feel alone or abandoned, but God is always by your side, working behind the scenes to ensure that you come out victorious. You may not see it in the moment, but every battle you face is refining you, building your character, and strengthening your faith. The enemy often tries to make you feel as though you're fighting a losing battle, that there's no hope, and that your efforts are futile. He'll whisper lies into your mind, telling you that you'll never succeed, that the odds are stacked against you, and that God has forgotten you. But these are the times when you need to hold on to the truth of God's word and His promises. God has already given you the victory, and the battle is not yours to fight alone. In 2 Chronicles 20:15, God tells His people, "Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army. For the battle is not yours, but God's. When you feel like you can't go on, remember that God is fighting for you, and He will not let you be defeated." In the midst of the fight, God is teaching you perseverance. When things get tough, it's easy to want to give up and walk away, to throw in the towel and quit. But God is using every challenge to develop your ability to endure. He's teaching you to press on, to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the odds are against you. Perseverance is the key to breakthrough. It's the ability to keep going, to keep pushing, even when you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. In Romans 5:3-4, Paul writes, "Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Every time you press through, your character is being developed, and you're growing in the strength and resilience that will help you overcome even greater challenges in the future. God is also using your struggles to deepen your trust in Him. When things are going well, it's easy to trust God, to rely on Him, and to feel confident in His provision. But when you're in the middle of a fight, when the storm is raging, your trust in God is tested. It's during these times that you learn to lean into God's promises, to believe that He will come through for you even when the situation looks bleak. In times of uncertainty, you have the opportunity to strengthen your faith and trust in God's perfect timing. Trust is not built in the easy moments of life. It's built in the difficult moments when everything seems impossible, but you choose to trust that God is faithful. The more you trust God in the midst of your battles, the stronger your faith becomes, and the more you will see His hand at work in your life. God doesn't waste any of your battles. Every fight, every struggle, every moment of hardship is being used for your good. You may not understand why you're going through a particular trial, but God sees the bigger picture. He knows how the challenges you face today will prepare you for the victories of tomorrow. Every victory that you win today, no matter how small, is a stepping stone to something greater. The battles you face are preparing you for the larger purpose that God has for your life. The struggles are shaping you into the person you need to be in order to step into your destiny. They're teaching you the lessons you need to learn and equipping you with the tools you need to succeed. Sometimes God allows us to face battles because He knows that we need to grow in certain areas. Perhaps you're being tested in patience, in faith, in humility, or in perseverance. The battles you face are a reflection of the areas where you need to develop. God is working on you, refining your character, and making you more like Christ. In the midst of the battle, it's easy to get caught up in the pain and the struggle, but remember that God is using these moments to shape you, to make you stronger, and to prepare you for the breakthroughs ahead. He's using the fight to prepare you for a level of victory that you can't even imagine. As you face your battles, you also need to remember that you are not alone. You may feel isolated, like you're fighting this battle on your own, but God is with you every step of the way. And He's not only with you, but He has also surrounded you with people who are there to support you, to pray for you, and to encourage you. In the body of Christ, we are not meant to fight alone. God has placed people in your life to help you through the tough times, to stand alongside you in the fight, and to remind you that you're not alone. The battles you face may feel personal, but God has designed the church as a community of believers who are there to lift each other up and fight together. The victory that you are fighting for is not just for you, it's for others as well. When you win a battle, when you overcome a challenge, you become a testimony to others. Your victory encourages those around you who are facing their own battles. Your strength, your faith, and your perseverance serve as a witness to the power of God at work in your life. Your breakthrough will not only change your life, but will also inspire others to keep fighting and to trust God for their own victories. Your battles have a purpose beyond yourself. They are part of a bigger picture, and God is using your story to bring hope and encouragement to others. Sometimes the fight can seem endless. The road to victory may seem long, and the challenges may feel overwhelming. But God promises that He will never leave you nor forsake you. He is with you in the battle, and He will give you the strength to overcome. Even when you feel like you can't go on, He will sustain you and carry you through. The battle may be fierce, but God's power is greater and His victory is assured. Keep your eyes on the prize, stay focused on God's promises, and trust that He will lead you through the fight to victory. There are seasons in life when everything seems to be aligning perfectly. Doors begin to open, opportunities arise, and favor seems to be flowing from every direction. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable are suddenly becoming easier to overcome. It's as if you've entered a new phase, one where things are moving forward and you're seeing progress. These moments are often signs that God is preparing you for a breakthrough, a major shift in your life. But they also serve as a reminder that God's timing is always at work, and even when things seem to be moving quickly, it is essential to stay grounded in faith and trust in His plan. When things begin to flow in your life, it can feel exhilarating. You've worked hard, you've persevered through tough times, and now it seems like everything is coming together. You may have been praying for a long time for a breakthrough, and suddenly it seems as though everything is happening at once. It's easy to become excited and to think that your breakthrough is finally here. But this is also a moment to pause and reflect. The speed at which things are happening may be a sign that God is working rapidly in your life. However, this rapid movement should not cause you to forget that His timing and purpose are at play. Sometimes the speed at which things move can be overwhelming. The opportunities that you've been praying for are finally here, but they're coming so fast that it's hard to keep up. You may be faced with decisions that need to be made quickly, and it can feel as though there's no time to process everything that's happening. In these moments, it's essential to remember that even in the rush, God is with you. He knows what's ahead, and He has already gone before you to prepare the way. His pace may be swift, but He will not let you go through this season alone. It's important to take a step back when necessary and seek His guidance in every decision. Just because things are moving quickly doesn't mean you should rush through them without wisdom and discernment. Trust that God will direct your steps and give you the clarity you need to make wise decisions. When opportunities begin to flood in, it's also a time to evaluate whether you are truly prepared for the blessings that are coming your way. Sometimes a season of blessings is not just about the things that you're receiving, but about the person that you are becoming in the process. God often uses moments of sudden movement in your life to prepare you internally for what's to come. You might find that you're being stretched in areas of your character, your faith and your resilience. Opportunities can reveal whether you are truly ready to handle the success, responsibility, and growth that come with them. God may open doors, but He will also make sure that you are equipped to walk through them. So in these moments, reflect on the growth that has already taken place in your life and be open to further refinement as you prepare to step into what God has planned for you. As God opens doors and things start to fall into place, it's easy to let the excitement take over and to become consumed by what is happening around you. But even when things are moving forward, it is important to stay focused on your purpose and your calling. When everything is coming together, it can be easy to forget the big picture. You may be tempted to rush ahead and take on every opportunity that comes your way, thinking that it's all part of your breakthrough. However, not every opportunity is the right one. God's plan for your life is unique, and He has specific purposes for you that are aligned with His timing. While opportunities may come quickly, it's important to remain discerning and ensure that you're walking in the direction He has set for you. God's rapid movement in your life can be both exciting and overwhelming, but it is also an invitation to trust Him more deeply. It's an invitation to let go of your need to control the pace of your life and to trust that He is moving you exactly where you need to be. When things start to fall into place, it's easy to think that you have it all figured out, but this is the time to lean into God more than ever. It's a time to surrender your will and your desires to His perfect plan. The speed at which things are happening should not cause you to move out of your own strength or to act impulsively. Instead, it should remind you of the need for continued dependence on God. Even in the midst of the flow, He is the one who will guide your steps and lead you to the place of your breakthrough. One of the most important aspects of this season is recognizing that God's favor is not just for your benefit, but for the benefit of others as well. When God opens doors and pours out blessings into your life, it's not just for you to hoard or to enjoy in isolation. The breakthrough that is coming into your life is meant to overflow into the lives of those around you. Whether it's through financial blessings, opportunities, or relationships, the favor of God on your life is a testimony to others of His goodness and faithfulness. This is a moment to be generous, to share what you have been given, and to use your blessings to impact others for the kingdom of God. When things begin to flow, you also need to guard your heart and mind. It's easy to become distracted by the excitement and to lose sight of your foundation. The blessings and opportunities that come with rapid movement can tempt you to focus more on what you're gaining than on who you are becoming. It's important to stay humble, to stay grounded in God's word, and to remember that everything you're experiencing is a result of His grace. Don't allow pride or self-sufficiency to creep in. Recognize that this is God's doing and that you are simply a vessel through which He is working. Keep your heart aligned with His purposes and keep your focus on Him as you step into this new season. The rapid flow of opportunities and blessings can also bring a sense of urgency. You might feel that if you don't act quickly, you'll miss out. But remember that God's timing is never rushed. He knows what you need and when you need it. Even when things are moving quickly, there's no need to panic or act in haste. Trust that the doors God opens for you will remain open until it's the right time to walk through them. Don't let the pressure of timing cause you to rush ahead of God's plan. Be patient, be still, and wait for the right moment to step forward. God will guide you every step of the way, even when it feels like everything is moving fast. As you experience this season of rapid movement and favor, keep your heart in a posture of gratitude. Thank God for every opportunity, every blessing, and every door that is opening before you. Recognize that this is not by your own strength or ability, but by His grace and favor. Let gratitude be the attitude that guides you through this season, and let it remind you that every good gift comes from above. In this season of flow, continue to be faithful, continue to trust, and continue to stay grounded in the purpose that God has for your life. When things begin to move rapidly, remember that God is always in control, and He will bring you through this season stronger and more prepared for the breakthrough that lies ahead. There are moments in life when everything around you seems to fall into place. It's as if the fog of confusion has lifted and clarity emerges like a light at the end of a tunnel. You may have been praying, working hard, and staying faithful, but it wasn't until recently that everything started to make sense. These moments of clarity are signs that God is preparing you for a breakthrough. They signify that the confusion and uncertainty you once faced are coming to an end, and God is about to open doors that you couldn't have imagined. But the process of stepping into that breakthrough requires more than just clarity. It requires preparation, faith, and trust in God's timing. There are times when we find ourselves in seasons of doubt or confusion. We pray for guidance, but it feels like we're walking in darkness. We don't know which direction to take, and the decisions we need to make feel overwhelming. But then in the midst of this confusion, God begins to shine a light on the path ahead. The fog begins to clear, and suddenly we see the way forward. It's as though everything aligns and makes sense in a way that it never did before. This clarity is a sign that God is about to move in your life in a powerful way. It is a reminder that God's timing is perfect even when we can't understand it. He knows exactly when to open our eyes and show us the path ahead. This moment of clarity doesn't always come when we expect it. Sometimes it comes after a period of waiting, uncertainty, and struggle. We may have been praying and asking God for direction for months or even years, and it felt like we were getting no response. But then at the right moment, God reveals the next step. His timing is never early, and it's never late. It's always right on time. It's during these moments of clarity that we begin to understand why things happened the way they did and how the past struggles were part of the plan that God had all along. The clarity that God brings is not just about understanding the past, it's also about seeing the future with fresh eyes. It's about knowing that although you may have faced difficulties, God has a purpose in everything, and He is leading you to something greater. This newfound clarity often comes with a sense of peace. When you've been confused for so long, the sudden peace that settles in your heart is unmistakable. You may have been wrestling with decisions, fighting inner turmoil, and feeling uncertain about the future, but when God brings clarity, peace follows. It's a peace that surpasses all understanding, as the Bible describes. It's the kind of peace that settles in your spirit, calming your anxious thoughts and reminding you that God is in control. When you experience this peace, you know that you're on the right track and you can move forward with confidence, even if you don't have all the answers. This peace is not just a feeling, it's a sign that God is preparing you for the breakthrough ahead. When God brings clarity and peace, it's His way of reassuring you that He is with you every step of the way. Even though the journey ahead may still have challenges, you are no longer walking in confusion or fear. You are walking in confidence, knowing that God has already gone before you to prepare the way. It's like receiving a promise that you can trust God is working in your favor, and He is moving mountains on your behalf. One of the most important things that happens during this time of clarity is that your faith is strengthened. It's easy to lose faith when things are uncertain, when the path ahead seems unclear, and when you can't see the end of the road. But when God brings clarity, it strengthens your trust in Him. You begin to see that He is trustworthy, that His timing is perfect, and that He has a plan for your life that is greater than anything you could have imagined. As your faith is strengthened, you're able to move forward without hesitation, knowing that the same God who has brought you this far will continue to lead you to the breakthrough you've been praying for. During this time of clarity, you may also experience a shift in your perspective. What once seemed like obstacles or setbacks now look like opportunities. The things that caused you stress and anxiety in the past no longer have the same power over you. You begin to see challenges as stepping stones, lessons that are preparing you for the breakthrough. This shift in perspective is crucial because it allows you to approach the upcoming season with a renewed mindset. You're no longer focused on what's wrong or what could go wrong. You're focused on what God is about to do in your life. This new perspective enables you to see opportunities for growth and success where you once saw only difficulty. The clarity you receive is also a reminder that God is always in control, even when things don't make sense. There were times when you wondered if God had forgotten about you, when you questioned whether your prayers were being heard. But in this season of clarity, you realize that God was always at work, even when you couldn't see it. His timing was just as perfect as His plan. He was orchestrating every detail of your life, working behind the scenes to prepare you for the breakthrough that was coming. This realization helps you to let go of any remaining doubt or fear. You can now fully trust that God's hand is upon your life and that He will never lead you astray. As you embrace this clarity, it's also important to recognize that with it comes a sense of responsibility. God has given you insight, and with that insight comes the need for action. It's not enough to simply know the path ahead, you must walk it. God's clarity and peace are not just signs that He is preparing you for something big. They are also invitations to step forward in faith. You've been given the clarity to see the next step, but now it's time to take it. The breakthrough you've been waiting for requires obedience, trust, and a willingness to move when God says move. The clarity God provides will empower you to take bold steps forward, even when the future is still uncertain. This season of clarity is a beautiful reminder that God is always working in our lives, even when we can't see it. His timing is perfect, and His plans for us are far greater than we could ever imagine. When things begin to make sense, when the confusion lifts and the path ahead becomes clear, it's not just a moment of understanding, it's a moment of preparation. God is preparing you for something greater than you could have dreamed, and He is equipping you with everything you need to walk in His purpose for your life. Trust that His plans will unfold in His perfect timing, and as you step forward in faith, you will experience the breakthrough that He has been preparing you for. As we come to the conclusion of this journey, it's clear that the path God has set before us is one filled with purpose, growth, and preparation. Each of the signs we've discussed points to a greater truth. God is always working behind the scenes to align the universe in such a way that we are equipped and ready for the breakthroughs He has in store. While the journey toward that breakthrough can be filled with challenges, confusion, and seasons of waiting, the clarity and peace that come when it all falls into place serve as powerful reminders that God is not only with us, but actively working in our lives. Throughout our lives, we often find ourselves questioning the timing, wondering why things don't happen as quickly as we think they should. We may find ourselves praying for breakthroughs and waiting in anticipation, sometimes becoming discouraged when things don't unfold according to our timelines. But what we must remember is that God's timing is always perfect. It may not always align with our own expectations or desires, but it is always designed to bring about the best for us. When we look back on our journey, we often find that the delays, the waiting periods, and the challenges were all part of God's grand plan to prepare us for what was ahead. These moments weren't in vain. They were shaping us, refining our character, and building our faith so we could walk into the breakthrough He was preparing for us. The rapid movement of opportunities, the signs of growth, the moments of clarity, and the sense of peace are all ways that God demonstrates His love and faithfulness. These are not just random occurrences, but divine indicators that God is doing something big in your life. His preparation is not only for the moment you walk through the breakthrough, but for the person you will become as you walk through it. The internal changes you undergo, your strength, your faith, your perseverance are the foundation for sustaining the blessings that are coming your way. God doesn't just want you to receive a breakthrough. He wants to ensure that you are equipped to handle it in a way that glorifies Him and impacts those around you. It's also important to understand that clarity is not just about knowing what's ahead. It's about being able to see things through God's eyes. When God gives you clarity, He gives you the ability to understand not just your current circumstances, but also the bigger picture of His purpose for your life. You begin to see that the trials you face were not for nothing. They were steps in the process of making you the person who could handle the greatness that He has in store for you. You start to understand that the struggles, the delays, the doubts were all pieces of the puzzle that needed to fit together to create the masterpiece of your life. The clarity God gives us is the key to unlocking a deeper trust in His plan and a deeper understanding of His ways. It's not always easy to trust in the unseen, but when you receive clarity, your faith becomes anchored in the certainty that God is working in ways you cannot yet fully comprehend. Along with clarity comes peace, the peace that settles in your heart when you know you're on the right path, even if you can't see the full picture. Peace is the assurance that you are being led, step by step, by the one who knows the end from the beginning. This peace comes from the knowledge that your breakthrough is not a coincidence or a stroke of luck. It is the result of God's perfect plan. Peace allows you to walk with confidence, knowing that even when obstacles arise, even when the road ahead seems uncertain, God is right there with you, guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for what's next. That peace is a sign of His presence, reminding you that no matter how fast things may move, you do not have to rush. You can rest in the truth that God is always in control. And when things start to flow in your life, when doors open, when opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, and when your prayers start to be answered, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all. But this is when the true test of faith begins. It's when things are moving quickly and smoothly that you must remain grounded. It's easy to lose sight of the big picture when everything seems to be falling into place. But God's breakthrough is not just for you to enjoy in isolation. It's a blessing meant to be shared. When He opens doors for you, He does so with the intention that you will use those blessings to impact the lives of others. Your success, your opportunities, your growth are not just for your benefit, they are for the benefit of the kingdom of God. You are called to be a vessel of His blessings, sharing what you have received with those around you. When God pours out favor upon you, He is not just blessing you for your own enjoyment, but to be a blessing to others. The breakthrough you've been praying for is not just about the moment it happens, but about the person you become in the process. God is preparing you not only for the rewards of breakthrough, but for the responsibility that comes with it. The breakthroughs are the culmination of years of prayer, preparation, and perseverance. You may not always understand the process, but when the breakthrough comes, you'll see it all clearly. You'll understand that everything that happened before was preparing you for this very moment. God was shaping your heart, your character, and your faith so that you would be ready for the blessings and the responsibility that come with the breakthrough. So as you step into this season of breakthrough, remember to stay humble, stay grateful, and stay focused. Keep your eyes on the one who made it all possible. Don't get distracted by the noise of the world or the pressures that come with success. Stay grounded in faith. Keep your heart aligned with God's purpose for your life and continue to trust in His timing. Your breakthrough is not just a victory for you, it's a victory for the kingdom of God. It's a testimony of His faithfulness, a reminder that God is faithful to His promises and that He works all things together for good for those who love Him. Embrace the journey that led you to this moment. Trust in the process that God has used to prepare you. The breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you will be ready, not just because of what you've received, but because of what you've become. Trust in God's perfect plan for your life and step forward with faith, knowing that your breakthrough is not just a destination, but a new beginning. You have been prepared, equipped, and called for this moment. Walk in it with confidence, knowing that God is always with you. So, if you're experiencing any of these signs, let me tell you, you're not losing. You're being positioned. Your breakthrough is closer than it's ever been. Don't quit now. Don't give up on the break of what God has for you. The Bible says, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man what God has prepared for those who love him. That's the promise. Your job is to stay faithful, to keep pressing, to keep believing. When God is preparing you for a breakthrough, it's not about where you are, it's about where he's taking you. So walk forward with confidence, knowing that what's ahead is greater than anything you've left behind. Your breakthrough is coming. Believe it, receive it, walk in it.